I had conquered 47 star systems before breakfast. Well, before the human equivalent of breakfast. We Carthani do not eat. We absorb nutrient mist through our secondary respiratory valves, which sounds far less impressive when you say it out loud, so I usually just tell people I had breakfast. Makes the whole galactic domination thing feel more relatable. You know, but this was different. The human colony on Vesper 9 should have surrendered the moment my flagship, the Eternal Claw, dropped out of hyperspace above their pathetic little agricultural world. That is how it works. I arrive, I broadcast my terms. They see my fleet of 300 warships blotting out their sun. They weep. They submit. I add another system to my collection and move on to ruin someone else's day. Simple, efficient, extremely satisfying. Except the humans on Vesper 9 did not weep. They did not submit. Instead, their planetary defense coordinator, a girl who looked barely old enough to operate a hovercart, opened a comm channel and said, and I quote, "Yeah, no thanks. We are good." Her name was Kira Voss, 23 standard years old according to our intelligence scans. Brown hair pulled into a messy knot on top of her head, grease smudge on her left cheek, wearing what appeared to be a maintenance jumpsuit with the sleeves torn off. She was chewing something. Gum, I think the humans call it. She looked at me, at my magnificent crimson battle armor, at my 4 ceremonial honor blades, at the smoking plasma cannons visible through the viewport behind me, and she had the audacity to look bored. "I am Warlord Thane Korrix," I announced. My voice amplified through 17 different vocal enhancement systems to produce the perfect combination of menace and authority. I have crushed empires that spanned 1,000 worlds. I have made warlords beg for the mercy of a quick death. Your colony will submit to my rule, or I will reduce your cities to atomic dust and sell your survivors into slavery across 9 sectors. I paused for effect. This is usually where the screaming starts. Kira Voss stopped chewing her gum. She tilted her head slightly, as if considering a mildly interesting math problem. Then she said, "Try forcing me." 2 words. She said 2 words, and somehow my entire command deck went silent. My tactical officer Zren turned 3 of his eye stalks toward me, in what I recognized as barely concealed amusement. My weapons coordinator pretended to study his console with sudden intense focus. Even my personal guard, who had been with me through the siege of Caledon and the Great Purge of the Outer Rim, seemed to be developing sudden interest in the floor plating. "Did she just—" I started. "She did, Warlord," Zren confirmed, his voice carefully neutral. I felt something unfamiliar stirring in my chest cavity, something hot and uncomfortable. Later I would learn that humans call this emotion being absolutely furious, while also being slightly impressed, but mostly furious. "Load all primary weapons," I said quietly. Too quietly. My crew knew that tone. That was the tone I used right before I melted someone's homeworld into radioactive slag. "Weapons ready, Warlord." I opened the comm channel again. Kira Voss was still there, still chewing her gum, now examining her fingernails with mild interest. "You have 10 seconds to reconsider your position," I said, my voice dropping into the subsonic registers that usually made prey species lose control of their waste elimination systems. "Surrender or face annihilation." She looked up, directly into the camera. Her eyes were green, bright green, like the poison swamps of Threxar 4 right before they explode. "Okay, first of all, dramatic much," she said, waving one hand dismissively. "Second, you should probably know that while you were doing your whole villain speech thing, I just finished uploading a worm program into your tactical network. It is going to be hilarious. Well, hilarious for me, probably less hilarious for you." Before I could process this information, every screen on my command deck turned bright pink. Not the standard emergency red, pink. Aggressively, offensively pink. Then the music started. I do not know what humans call that particular genre of music, but it involved a great deal of synthetic percussion, auto-tuned vocals, and lyrics about something called a dance floor. It was playing through every speaker on my flagship, including the ones in the waste reclamation units. "What is happening?" I roared over the music. Zren was frantically working his console. The worm program, Warlord. It has infected our entertainment systems, our navigation displays, our tactical readouts. Everything is pink, and I cannot make the music stop. On screen, Kira Voss was grinning now. Actually grinning. That is my pump-up playlist. Good stuff, right? Really gets you motivated. Although fair warning, track 7 is kind of problematic. Some questionable lyrics about relationships. I keep meaning to skip it, but it is super catchy. Shut it down, I commanded. Shut everything down. We are trying, Warlord. But the program is adapting faster than we can isolate it. It is using our own security protocols against us. And Zren paused, his eye stalks drooping in what I recognized as deep embarrassment. And it just posted our current location and tactical formation to something called Spacebook with the caption, "About to have a really bad day, send thoughts and prayers." This was not happening. This could not be happening. I had toppled governments. I had broken siege lines that had held for decades. I had personally defeated the champion of Arcturus in single combat, and he had 16 arms, and now I was being humiliated by a 23-year-old human in a torn jumpsuit. Disable all external communications, I ordered. Cut power to everything except life support and weapons. We are going to do this the old-fashioned way. The pink screens flickered and died. The music cut off mid-lyric. Something about dancing until the world ends. Blessed silence returned to my command deck. I activated the comm channel again using the backup systems. Clever trick, human, but tricks will not save you from 300 warships. Final warning, surrender, or I will personally lead the assault force that storms your capital. Kira Voss had stopped grinning. Her expression was serious now, focused. She leaned forward, and when she spoke, her voice had lost all traces of playfulness. Here is the thing, Warlord Thane Korrix. You can see Vesper 9 from where you are, right? Pretty little planet, good soil, decent weather, about 8 million people living relatively peaceful lives, farming and mining and generally not bothering anyone. Your point? My point is that you are looking at it wrong. You see a target, a prize to add to your collection. But what you should be seeing, what you really should have noticed before you decided to threaten us, is that Vesper 9 is a human colony. I am aware of your species designation, girl. No, I do not think you are. Not really. See, humans have this thing. This stupid, irrational, absolutely insane thing, where we do not give up, ever. You can have better ships, better weapons, better armor, better chances. Doesn't matter. We will fight you with warships, then with fighters, then with ground forces, then with improvised weapons, then with rocks and sharp sticks and harsh language. And if you somehow manage to kill all of us, which would be impressive considering how stubborn we are about staying alive, the other human colonies will hear about it, and they will come for you. Not to arrest you, not to negotiate. They will come to end you. She paused, letting that sink in. So here is my counteroffer. Warlord, you turn your pretty fleet around. You go find some other species to bother. Some species that actually values self-preservation over spite, and in exchange I will not upload the second worm program I have queued up, the one that will brick every jump drive in your fleet and leave you stranded here for the 6 months it will take the human defense flotilla to arrive. I stared at her. This was a bluff. It had to be a bluff. No single individual, especially not some barely trained colonial technician, could have that kind of access to military-grade systems. You are lying, I said. Maybe. Probably not. But here is the fun part. You are not sure, are you? And that uncertainty is going to eat at you. Every jump you make, you are going to wonder if this is the one where your drives fail. Every system you conquer, you are going to wonder if the humans have heard about what you tried to do here. If they are coming. When they are coming. She leaned back in her chair, resumed chewing her gum. And hear me out here, you could just leave. Go find someone else to oppress. Let us continue farming our space wheat or whatever in peace. Your choice, Warlord. My tactical officer spoke up. Warlord, our intelligence confirms that human defense forces have been unusually aggressive in recent cycles. 3 pirate fleets have been completely destroyed in the past standard year. The survivors report that the humans fight like they have nothing to lose. Because we do not, Kira Voss interjected, apparently able to hear our bridge communications. She must have left her infiltration program active. You know what the motto of the Human Defense Forces is. It is not about honor or glory or any of that traditional military stuff. Our motto is, not today. As in, not today are we giving up. Not today are we surrendering. Not today are you destroying our homes. She smiled then, but it was not the playful grin from before. This smile was all teeth. So, Warlord Thane Korrix, conqueror of 47 star systems, what is it going to be? Because I have been awake for 36 hours fixing a sewage processor, my coffee maker is broken, and I am really not in the mood to deal with your existential crisis right now. I looked at my tactical display. 300 warships. Enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. Against 1 agricultural colony, with minimal defenses. I should have given the order to fire. By every military doctrine I had ever studied, by every instinct honed over decades of warfare, I should have reduced that impudent human and her entire world to dust. But something stopped me. Some small voice in the back of my combat-enhanced neural processor that whispered a warning. Humans were new to the galactic stage. Barely 2 centuries since their first contact. Most established species barely noticed them, just another primitive race with delusions of significance. But what if we were wrong? What if we had all missed something important about these strange, adaptable, absolutely insufferable primates? What if Kira Voss was not bluffing? Stand down weapons, I said quietly. Warlord? Zaren's eyes stalks swiveled toward me in surprise. I said stand down. Plot a course to the outer rim. We are leaving. The command deck erupted in confused chatter. I silenced them with a gesture. On screen, Kira Voss nodded once. Smart choice. Safe travels, Warlord. Try not to oppress anyone on your way out. The comm channel closed. As my fleet began the long process of turning away from Vesper 9, I stood at the viewport and watched the planet slowly drift out of range. So small, so insignificant. And yet, Zaren, I said, begin compiling all available intelligence on human military capabilities. Everything, ship specifications, tactical doctrines, historical battles. I want to know what we are really dealing with. Yes, Warlord. May I ask why? Because, I said slowly, watching Vesper 9 disappear from view, I think we just made first contact with something dangerous, and I would very much like to avoid making an enemy of it. Behind me, someone had managed to restart the systems. Immediately, the pink screens flickered back to life. The music resumed, louder than before. I closed my eyes and wondered, not for the first time today, if conquering the galaxy was really worth this level of indignity. Somewhere on Vesper 9 I imagined Kira Voss was having a good laugh. 3 weeks. That is how long it took for me to realize that retreating from Vesper 9 was simultaneously the smartest and stupidest decision I had ever made. Smart because my intelligence teams had spent those 3 weeks compiling reports on human military actions, and every single report made my secondary combat heart skip a beat. Stupid, because apparently word travels fast in this sector, and now every 2-credit pirate and wannabe warlord in the Outer Rim knew that Thane Korrix, terror of the known galaxy, had been scared off by a girl with a wrench and an attitude problem. My reputation, carefully cultivated over 30 years of ruthless conquest, was currently somewhere between laughingstock and washed up. Excellent. Just excellent. Another message from the Syndicate, Warlord, Zren announced. His voice carefully neutral in that way that meant he was trying very hard not to laugh. They are offering to sell us, and I quote, anti-human tactical doctrine and premium coward insurance. Delete it, I growled. Already done. However, there are 47 more messages in queue. Most are simply laughing sounds. One is a recipe for something called chicken soup, which the sender suggests you will need for your, quote, hurt feelings. I was going to murder someone, slowly, with a dull blade. Any actual intelligence updates? Ziren's demeanor shifted to professional. Yes, Warlord. And you are not going to like it. I have not liked anything in 3 weeks. Continue. He brought up a holographic display. We have been monitoring Vesper 9 since our departure. Standard protocol, except there has been unusual activity. 17 ships have arrived in the past week alone. Lillary transports. Heavy cargo haulers. And 3 days ago, a human dreadnought entered orbit. That got my attention. A dreadnought? For an agricultural colony. That is what we thought. But our deep scans suggest they are building something. Major construction in orbit. Defense platforms. Shipyards. What looks like a military academy facility. Vesper 9 is being transformed into a fortress world. I studied the tactical display. This made no sense. Why would they invest those resources into a minor colony? Unless they expected you to return, Zeren finished quietly. A cold feeling settled into my main combat heart. They are baiting me. It would appear so, Warlord. Furthermore, we have intercepted communications, suggesting that the human defense forces are using your encounter with Kira Voss as a training scenario. Apparently it has become quite popular. They have even given it a name. Operation Humble Pie. I closed my eyes. Of course they had. Show me the intercept. The hologram shifted to a recording. Human military officers in a briefing room, looking far too pleased with themselves. A middle-aged man with grey hair and more medals than sense was speaking. The Vesper 9 incident demonstrates core human doctrine. When faced with overwhelming force, do not panic. Do not surrender. Find their weakness and exploit it. Tech specialist Voss identified that Korrix relies on intimidation and shock tactics. She neutralized both with humor and confidence. More importantly, she made him doubt himself. That doubt saved 8 million lives. The recording showed other officers nodding, taking notes. One raised her hand. Sir, what if Korrix returns with a larger fleet? Our projections suggest he commands enough firepower to overwhelm any defense we could mount. The grey-haired officer smiled. It was not a nice smile. Then we make sure it costs him everything. We have been preparing for this scenario since humanity first reached the stars. Every colony has contingency plans. Every civilian knows their role. If Korrix wants Vesper 9, he can have it. But first he will have to step over 8 million bodies, fight through orbital defenses that will shred half his fleet, and then deal with the fact that every other human world will know exactly how he operates, and will be ready for him. The question is not whether we can stop him. The question is whether his ego can survive the attempt. The recording ended. Zeren looked at me, expectantly. Warlord, I should have been angry. I should have been planning an overwhelming assault to restore my reputation. Instead, I found myself analyzing the situation like a tactical problem, which is what I should have done in the first place, instead of letting my pride do the thinking. They are right, I said finally. I could take Vesper 9. But it would cost me at least 1/3 of my fleet, maybe half. And for what? A farming world? To prove a point? Your reputation, Warlord. My reputation is built on successful conquests, not Pyrrhic victories. If I lose half my fleet taking one minor colony, every other species I have subjugated will see weakness. They will revolt. The empire will collapse within a year. I turned away from the display. The humans knew this. They knew I would see the tactical impossibility and walk away. That girl knew it from the start. That is why she was so confident. So what do we do, Warlord? Good question. Excellent question. The kind of question that keeps warlords awake during their rest cycles. Before I could answer, every alarm on the command deck started screaming. Contact, my sensor operator shouted. Multiple ships, dropping out of hyperspace. 30, no, 40 vessels. They are surrounding us. Battle stations, I commanded, my combat instincts taking over. Identify those ships. Working on it, Warlord. Wait. They are broadcasting identification codes. Human vessels. Frigate class mostly. Some destroyers. And one. The sensor operator's voice went quiet. One dreadnought. The same one that was at Vesper. The comm system activated without anyone touching it. Someone had overridden our security again. I was starting to sense a pattern here. Kira Voss appeared on screen. She was wearing an actual uniform now, though she had somehow managed to make it look just as casual as the jumpsuit. Still chewing gum, still looking mildly annoyed by existence in general. "Hey Korrix, miss me? How did you find us?" I demanded. "Our location was encrypted, our route randomized. We have been maintaining full stealth protocols." "Oh, about that." She made a guilty face that was completely insincere. "Remember that worm program I uploaded? The one that made everything pink and played my playlist? Yeah, that also installed a tracking beacon in your navigation system. You have basically been broadcasting your location to us for 3 weeks. Super helpful, thanks for that." Behind me I heard Zren make a sound that might have been a sob. "What do you want?" I asked, keeping my voice level through sheer force of will. Kira's expression became serious. "We need to talk. Actual talk, not the threats and posturing thing. I am coming aboard." "Absolutely not. You will stay on your ship where you cannot sabotage anything else." "Too late. I am already docking. B7, I think. Nice ship, by the way. Very dramatic. Lots of spikes and skulls. Really commits to the evil warlord aesthetic." I did not authorize any docking. "Zaran, lock down all hangar bays." "Trying, Warlord." She has overridden the hangar controls. The bay doors are opening. There is a small craft entering now. This was fine. Everything was fine. I was a legendary warlord who had crushed empires, and I was absolutely not having a panic attack because one human technician kept breaking into my systems like they were made of paper. "Dispatch my personal guard to Bay 7, I ordered. "Full battle gear. If she makes any hostile moves, contain her." 10 minutes later my personal guard escorted Kira Voss onto my command deck. She was flanked by 8 of my best warriors, each one capable of ripping a combat mech apart with their bare claws. She looked completely unbothered, casually observing my command deck like a tourist visiting a museum. "Wow, you really lean into the whole evil overlord thing, do not you? Is that a skull throne? That is amazing. Impractical, probably terrible for your back, but amazing." "State your purpose here," I said coldly. "Then leave before I decide that the diplomatic incident is worth killing you." She stopped in front of my throne, hands in her pockets, and looked up at me. For the first time, I noticed how small she actually was. Barely came up to my mid-torso, and yet she stared at me like I was the one who should be worried. "Here is the situation," she said. "You are a problem, not for me personally. I mean, you are annoying, but I deal with annoying every day. Broken sewage processes are annoying. You are more of a strategic problem." How flattering. "Shut up, I am talking. You are a problem because you have been conquering your way across this sector for decades, and nobody has stopped you. You know why? Because everyone you have beaten so far fights the way you expect. They mass their fleets, they build bigger weapons, they try to match your strength with their strength. And you are really good at that kind of fight." She started pacing, and my guards tensed. I waved them back. "But humans, we do not fight that way. We fight dirty. We fight smart. We fight like we have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And that terrifies you, does not it? Because you cannot predict it. You cannot plan for it. You cannot intimidate someone who thinks dying for a cause is a valid lifestyle choice. Get to the point. The point is that you have 2 options. Option 1, you keep trying to build your empire, and eventually you run into humanity. Maybe not today, maybe not next year, but eventually. And when that happens, we are going to make your life extremely difficult. We will not beat you in straight fights. We will blow up your supply lines, hack your systems, turn your allies against you, make every single conquest cost more than it is worth. We will be the mosquito you cannot swat, the itch you cannot scratch. We will make you miserable." And option 2. Kira stopped pacing and looked at me with something that might have been respect. Or pity. Hard to tell with human. "Option 2, you be smart, you recognize that the galaxy is changing, that the old ways of doing things do not work anymore. You stop conquering random worlds and start building something that actually lasts. Trade networks. Alliances, the kind of empire that does not require 300 warships to maintain." "You are suggesting I give up conquest?" The thing I have devoted my entire existence to? I am suggesting you evolve, because here is the thing about humans, Korrix. We are not going anywhere. We are expanding, building, growing, and we are making friends with the species you have been stepping on for decades. Eventually, probably sooner than you think, those species are going to realize they do not have to be afraid of you anymore. They have allies now. Allies who fight dirty and do not quit. She let that hang in the air for a moment. So yeah, you can keep being the big scary warlord, or you can be the smart guy who saw where this was heading and adapted. Your call. I stared at this small, infuriating human who had somehow managed to infiltrate my flagship, lecture me about strategy, and make it sound almost reasonable. And if I choose option 1, if I decide that crushing humanity would restore my reputation, Kira shrugged. Then you are dumber than you look, and you look like someone welded a bunch of knives to an angry lizard. But okay, try it. See how that works out. Just remember, we know where you are at all times now. We know your ship specifications, your tactical preferences, your favorite routes, every piece of data you have sent over any network in the past 3 weeks. We have it. You want a war with humanity? Cool. Just know that we have already won the first battle, and you did not even realize we were fighting. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and one more thing. That tracking beacon? I am leaving it active. Consider it a gift. Every time you jump to a new system, we will know. Every time you threaten a colony, we will know. You are going to spend the rest of your career looking over your shoulder, wondering if today is the day the humans show up. Sleep well, Warlord. And with that she walked off my command deck, past my guards, back to her ship, and undocked before anyone could stop her. The human fleet remained in position for exactly 5 more minutes. Then as one they jumped to hyperspace and vanished. Silence filled my command deck. Warlord, Gren asked quietly. Orders. I sat on my skull throne, which was indeed terrible for my back, and contemplated the past 3 weeks of my life. Somewhere in the universe there was a version of me who had never stopped at Vesper 9, who had continued conquering systems, building an empire, living the life of a legendary warlord. That version of me was probably very happy. This version of me had a tracking beacon in his flagship, a ruined reputation, and a growing suspicion that the humans were absolutely right about everything. Change of plans, I said finally. Contact the Merchant Guild. Tell them I want to discuss trade agreements. Then reach out to the worlds we have conquered in the past year. Offer them autonomy in exchange for economic partnerships. Warlord, are you certain? No, but I am smart enough to recognize when I have been outmaneuvered. The humans taught me that. Also, get someone up here to remove this tracking beacon. And Zerrin. Yes, Warlord, find out if there are any other hidden programs in our systems. I do not want any more surprises. 3 hours later, my technical teams reported that they had found 17 additional programs scattered throughout our network. One was monitoring our communications. One was cataloging our military assets. One appeared to be a game where you threw birds at structures. And one was simply a text file that read, "Told you so. Be better. Kira." I kept that one. 6 months later, my empire had transformed from a conquest-based military dictatorship into a reasonably prosperous trade federation. My reputation had shifted from feared warlord to, according to the Galactic news networks, eccentric entrepreneur with anger management issues. I received a message from Vesper 9, from Kira Voss. Naturally, heard you have been behaving. Good job. Knew you had it in you. By the way, we fixed that tracking beacon problem. You are welcome. Although we did install a new one. Just kidding. Maybe. Probably not. Keep guessing. Stay good, Korrix. I sent a reply. Your sense of humor remains deeply unpleasant. However, I acknowledge that your advice was tactically sound. My empire is more stable now than it has been in years. I assume you take credit for this? Her response came back within minutes. Absolutely. I am adding Empire Reformation to my resume. Right under Sewage Systems Expert and Professional Pain in the Neck. You should visit Vesper 9 sometime. We make excellent coffee. No threats. No tricks, just coffee and maybe some conversation between a reformed warlord and the girl who made him reconsider his life choices. I looked at that message for a long time. Then I plotted a course to Vesper 9. My crew thought I was insane. They were probably right. But if 3 decades of conquest had taught me anything, it was how to recognize when someone had beaten me. And Kira Voss had not just beaten me. She had completely dismantled my entire worldview, rebuilt it, and somehow made it better. The least I could do was buy her coffee. Besides, I was curious to see what other chaos she could cause when she was not actively sabotaging my flagship.